Hello. The law that I have chosen today is the Canadian Environmental Protections Act, an act that I believe is one of the most important laws ever enacted for the environment, as it ensures that our lakes and land stay clean and hazardous waste is handled properly, as well as many more laws to protect the environment. Enacted on March 31st, 2000 by Christine Stewart, as you can see here, the Minister of the Environment at the time. The purpose of this act is to ensure the prevention of toxic substances entering our environment, as well as the handling of said toxic substances. This also includes things such as air pollution, emission of greenhouse gases, and many more. Pollution is a serious problem in almost all of North America, and the Canadian Environmental Protections Act's primary goal is to keep the place we live as free of pollution as it can be. Now, before this act was set in place, things such as greenhouse gas emissions and harmful substance dumping did not have any large-term acts prohibiting them, causing fears to rise when it came to pollution, as big companies were able to just dump their toxic waste into oceans with little to no cutbacks or little to no intervention from the authorities. This was a major concern in the country. Many papers, articles, and news stories were telling the public that we need to do something about this. A paper was written by David G. Spack, as you can see here, titled "The Need for a Ban on All Radioactive Waste Disposal in the Ocean." This was written in 1986, and it spoke about how big companies were finding easy ways around the very flimsy laws already existing around toxic waste dumping and how they continue to pollute our oceans and lakes. Toxic waste dumping at the time was as easy as this. I've been working on the railroad all my dang time. I've been working on the railroad. Excuse me, sir. May I ask what you were doing here at Lake Ontario with all of these barrels? It looks like. Huh? Oh, hello, officer. Yes, I work for Big Oil. You know, they just told me I have to get rid of these all these this waste. Is there a problem with that? Well, sir, you can't just be throwing all this hazardous material into Lake Ontario. This can't be allowed. This can't be legal. Well, listen, sir. If you are happy to speak to, Big Oil about this, but I know my rights and I know the law. There's nothing stopping me from doing what I'm doing. So, I suggest you run along. Uh-huh, sure. This is why the act was enacted, and why it has stayed relatively the same to this day without many major changes or amendments. What happened just now cannot happen now. That man would have been arrested on the spot. He would have been taken away for doing something that harmful to our environment. This just goes to show how even though this law was enacted almost 22 years ago, it still protects our land from major pollution and dumping from big companies. A great example of how this act has helped is this graph right here on the air quality of Canada since 1975. It was on a downward trend in general, but you can see right here in 1999 and 2000, it takes a major drop in things such as sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, and nitrous dioxide in the air. They're at an all-time low, and they're still getting lower to this day. This act has helped keep our air clean, our land clean, and our waters clean. And I believe that the Canadian Environmental Protections Act was truly a remarkable success of an act, and has truly helped the environment in Canada stay as healthy as it can be. This is Ali Maktal, signing off.